Welcome to the Thriving Soulpreneur podcast. This is a space where we talk about human design, spirituality, and neuroscience, all applied to business and money. My purpose is to help struggling solopreneurs to run sustainable businesses, to become financially resilient, and to create powerful change within their communities and beyond. I am your host, Andrea Niño de Guzman, a numbers girl and neuro geek who left the corporate world to do what she does best, to catalyze transformations. I am thrilled and honored to have you here, and I really hope to serve you in the best way possible. Hello, welcome everyone to this new episode of the Thriving Soulpreneur podcast. It's great to have you here, just like always. And well, let's get to it. Let's talk about money. Money is an icky subject for many, especially when it comes to relationships. Why? Why is this? And I'm totally going off on a riff here. I felt like very pushed to talk about this today. But here's the thing. First of all, money has a lot of shoulds, right? It carries a lot of shoulds of you should be saving, you should be earning more, you should be earning less. When it comes to business, like how do you generate an income? There's also so many shoulds. You should be posting more, you should be promoting this way, you should be launching these courses, you should be creating these offers. There's so many shoulds. And all those shoulds create a pressure. So if you think about it, we're constantly bombarded by these messages that are pressuring us to show up, to do things in a way that one may or may not be aligned with us. Two, we may or may not have it in place, or we may or may not be ready to do that. And when that happens, it triggers a lot of low vibrational emotions in us. So it could trigger shame. It could trigger guilt, it could trigger anxiety, it could trigger fear, it could trigger overwhelm, it could trigger so much in us because we automatically think that there's something wrong with us. And then if you add that to this pressure cooker, you add this message of you have to manifest, you focus on the vision, on what you have to build, on what you want to create, and, focus on the frequency of your vibration, the frequency of your feelings is going to dictate what you bring into your reality. Yes, it's true. But if you haven't addressed the core of the fears, if you haven't addressed the core of the guilt, then what that message is doing is just compounding on that guilt and on that shame, because now you know what you're supposed to be doing in order to create a new reality, in order to manifest a new reality. You know that you're not doing it because you have all this shit to figure out. And then you feel doubly guilty. You feel even more ashamed. You feel worse. And again, that adds to even more of the pressure that you're feeling until there comes a point in time where you explode or the situation explodes. And it could explode in in anger. It could explode in burnout. It could explode in disease. It could explode in you just giving up on your dreams and going back into maybe a paying job that gives you stability, but that you hate. It can explode in so many ways. And I feel that not many people are addressing this pressure, because everybody's talking about what you should be doing to manifest, what you should be doing to grow your business, what you should be doing to live a better and a more abundant and aligned life. But nobody's talking about how. How do I fix the underlying issues? How do I fix the core? And that's what I want to start talking more about now, because all of a sudden it has become like the elephant in the room of, yes, everybody knows that we have issues that we need to deal with, but nobody really talks about them. So today, I specifically want to talk about all of that applied to relationships, because navigating financial situations with our partners or with our partner can be very frustrating. It can be very painful. It can be very annoying. And when you think about it, it can be just like, ugh, I don't want to deal with it, right? And I know that this doesn't apply to everybody. I know that there's some amazing couples, amazing people who have had the clarity, who have been able to talk this out with their partners, who they talk about their finances openly, who plan things out, they budget accordingly, they're moving forward, and things are just flowing with ease, and that's great. And if that's you, that's perfect. But I'm not addressing you in this case, in this podcast. I'm addressing the other percentage of people who, who are experiencing a lot of hardship and a lot of criticism, who are looking for that financial stability and they're not getting it. And they're being incredibly hard on themselves. And as a result, their relationships are suffering, or they are suffering as a result of their relationships, right? So let's look at these shoulds. So, like I mentioned before, you run your business with a lot of shoulds in your head. And it's not just of the shoulds of what you have to do in your business. There's a bigger should of providing for your family, for example. Like I felt like this before of I'm in business, I'm trying to build a business, but I also have a school to pay for. I have to pay for my kids, their food. I have to pay for their clothing. I have to pay for all their extracurricular activities. I have to pay for a lot of things. And I am, even though I'm married with my second marriage, my first husband doesn't really support me much in that way. So a lot of it is on my own, and it has been for a really long time. It's on me that I took on an unfair agreement. We're not going to go there. It's on me. But when I started doing business on my own, I had that big thing to carry over me of, am I being irresponsible? How am I going to pull this through? How am I going to pay for everything that my kids need? How am I going to provide them with all these amazing opportunities and this amazing life if I can't make ends meet, if I'm not able to provide for my family? So that became a very, very, very heavy should. Sorry, my Ho'oponopono alarm is going on off here. So that became a very, very heavy should. There's the other should of, you should be doing more, right? Because everybody's eyes are on you, on how successfully you're going to run your business, on whether you're going to reach your goals, on whether it's going to be as great as you told them that it was going to be. So there is a whole other layer of pressure of, I can't let them down because they're depending on me. And then there's this deep pain of, what if I fail? What's going to happen, not just to me, not just to my business, but what's going to happen to them if I fail? Because they are depending on me. So you can see where there's so much guilt. You see that there's so much shame and worry and anger involved in all of this. And let me tell you about other scenarios that you might be experiencing or that you might have experienced in the past. Like, for example, feeling guilty if your partner is the breadwinner and you're trying to take off your business without much success. You may feel guilty that you have to keep on relying on them. You may feel guilty that they are the ones, or they may be making you feel guilty that they are the ones that are keeping the family afloat, that they are the ones paying off the bills. And here you go, off onto something else that they know that it's not going to work out. And they just basically tell you, like, when are you going to land on your feet and realize that you're just flying high in the sky without anything tangible, without generating any results? I've seen it happen. I've experienced it too. You may feel guilty for not living up to your partner's expectations. And I've been on the other end. I've been incredibly harsh with my partner. And I've been the one who, at some point in time, said, you're not doing enough. What you're earning is not enough. You need to move. You can't just stay here in your comfort zone. I've been on the other end. And I've also been on the receiving end where I felt that kind of pressure of, if you're going to do this, you need to make this work. And you may feel ashamed for not meeting your numbers yet. You know how it is when you start a business. You talk about all the potential that your business can accomplish. For you, it's like when you start a business, there's so many possibilities. The world is full of possibilities, and you dream about your programs being sold out, about being this on-demand, coach or solopreneur where everybody's just reaching out to you and wanting to buy from you. And that can totally happen. But what happens when you are still at that stage where you're hoping to fill, for example, 10 spaces in your program and you're only selling one? What happens when you make less than half of what you were expecting? What emotions become triggered? One of them could be that feeling of shame, that feeling of guilt, like that need to hide something. So you hide your numbers, you hide your results. Maybe you downplay the effects of it. You keep on telling everybody that everything's going great, kind of like keeping up with appearances. That was me also at some point in time, when in reality, everything's kind of like falling apart and you're barely making ends meet and you're barely pushing through and you're barely, covering your business expenses. And that triggers, again, a lot of shame, a lot of worry, a lot of guilt. There's also shame in asking money and asking for help, especially, the people who are closest to you, because you said that this was going to work. And if it's not working yet or not working at all, there's shame in reaching out and asking people for money, asking people for help. There's shame in missing your payment or the thought of missing your payment. There's shame in the discomfort of having people reach out to you because you owe them money, because you just have no idea how you're going to pay them back, especially in those months where you still are not earning a steady income yet. There's a lot of shame in that. And there can also be anger on both sides in your relationship. Anger from your partner because you think they might think that you see that they think that you're wasting your time and you're not making any money, you're not doing anything. And anger on your end because you're not feeling understood, you're not feeling supported, you're not feeling seen. They're not seeing the potential, they're just focused on what's missing. And then you might also experience worry, right? You may not admit it out loud, but deep inside of you, you might think, what if they're right? Can this really work out? Can I really make it? So you see how the pressure that we feel in our relationships when it comes to money has so many layers. And it's not just about how much money I am making. It's not just about whether I'm paying the bills or not. It's not just about whether I am saving. It's really about all the emotions and the past memories that get triggered when we talk about savings, when we talk about expenses, when we talk about investments, when we talk about past decisions, when we talk about your business in general. There are so many layers. And, going back to what we talked about last week we were talking about resiliency and how, resiliency is not a badge of honor. The pain of letting others down is so big sometimes that you may push yourself to do whatever it is just to make it happen, to have those results. That's how you become resilient, to avoid a pain. And it might work. And I know I've experienced this where I was so worried about how others would see me, especially not the outside world, but within my family, because I really wanted to prove that I had not made a mistake, that I was on the right track for leaving a cushy, comfortable corporate career. I really wanted to prove that I just made it work. And it can work for a while, but I also know that it's not sustainable. You can't just be doing things out of fear, out of worry, just to avoid something that is not really sustainable in the long term. Because at the end of the day, you're going to end up burned out. You're going to end up burnt out. You're going to end up pissed with your company. You're going to end up disappointed with yourself. You're going to end up just wanting to throw things out the window and give up and move on to something even maybe more stable, but not as exciting, right? So why is it that it's not sustainable? Why is it that we can't just keep on focusing on just dealing with this pressure, on just pushing through, on powering through, on, staying in the state of resiliency? Because neurologically, what you're doing is you're operating from this constant state of stress. And the stories that you hold about yourself and the stories that you hold about how others perceive you, how they're going to judge you, how they're going to keep you, how they're going to value you, keep you, all these stories keep you in this constant state of stress. It's kind of like they keep you in the state of being attacked. So because you're attacked, you need to defend yourself. And how you defend yourself? By hustling, by powering through, by pushing through, by, just doing, just to prove that you can reach the numbers, that you can get your business going and growing. And again, that's not sustainable. It's heavy. And just the thought of it, it wears you out, because it's not addressing the real issue, because the real issue is that deep inside of you, deep inside each of us, there's this little girl or this little boy that wants to feel loved, that wants to be accepted, that wants to belong, that wants to be seen. This little child that wants to feel safe. And because it's not feeling safe, it's leading you to react and to think that if you don't deliver, that if you don't make these decisions, then you're not going to be loved. Then you're going to be rejected. You're going to be cast out. You're going to be in danger. So that's why we enter this unconscious reactive state that eventually burns us out. And when you're operating in the state of avoiding a greater pain, in the state of high stress, your focus is really on survival. Your focus isn't on creating new opportunities. Your focus isn't on the possibilities. Your focus is on just bringing in the cash. Let's pay those bills. Let's make things happen. Who cares how or when or why, but let's bring it in. And are you really going to build your business based on that? Because it's not really going to push you to your best, or it's not really going to drive you or flow to the best of you. You're basically going to do anything and everything to just prove yourself that you can't fail. And when that happens, what we do is we say yes to the wrong clients. We say yes to the wrong things. We start copying what others are doing. Focusing on, if it worked for them, it's going to work for me. So let me just imitate everything, because I want those 10K months. I want those 15K months. I want those 30K months. I need them. I need this to work. And in that process, you forget who you really are. You forget why you started your business. You completely become disconnected from your why, from your purpose. You become disconnected from your passion. You become disconnected from everything that brings you joy, because you're just so focused on reacting, on surviving. And again, that adds to the pressure. And it becomes like this self-fulfilling prophecy, or like this never-ending vicious circle of, you enter business for the wrong reasons. You enter into commitments for the wrong reasons, basically for money. That wears you out, but that keeps you in this constant state of stress. And that keeps you in this state where you just feel incredibly pressured, because there always needs to be more money in, more of this, more of that, improve. And in a way, I see it like you're digging yourself into a hole that you're never going to get out of if you keep on doing this. If you keep on focusing on reacting, and you keep on doing business based on this survival mode, because of how your relationships are impacting your relationship with money. So for this week, I want you to just sit down with your thoughts and question everything, and question the intentions behind everything that you're doing. Okay? So, for example, start thinking about basically every single decision. Whether it's launching a product, whether it's showing up on social media, whether it's saying yes to specific clients, whether it's saving, whether it's investing, whether it's spending, anything that you're doing. Are you doing this because you want to be liked? Because you want to be seen? Because you want to be accepted? And again, just notice without any judgment. Are you doing these things because you don't want to disappoint others? Are you doing these things because you want to be seen in a specific way? Are you doing these things because you want to belong? You want to be recognized? And ask yourself, do you really like everything that you're doing? Do you really enjoy everything that you're doing? If you're working for somebody else, do you really, really enjoy it? If you're working with a client, do you really, really enjoy working with that type of client? Do you really, really enjoy the types of products or offers that you're promoting? Do you really, really enjoy how you're running your life, how you're running your day to day, what you're involved in? Do you really want to do them? Do they really light you up? And if they do, also ask yourself, do you really want to do them that way, in that specific way? Or could there be maybe a different way? Maybe you want to do things differently, but you're not allowing yourself to do them out of fear. Or maybe because you don't trust yourself yet. And once you've identified all of this, once you've identified the I am doing X because of Y, and Y is usually related to a relationship, because how they're going to perceive me, because how I want to be perceived, because what they're going to say, because there are these expectations, because I'm taking care of them. Once you realize that, then the next step is to identify, okay, where does this come from? Where did you learn that this is the only path that you can take? We find the origin. And then once you find the origin, you decondition that aspect of yourself. And it's about reprogramming all these habits and ways of being that have kept you, or that keep you in the survival mode, that just add to this pressure, and that keep you in this state of survival to avoid a greater pain. And then when you do all that, when you reprogram all of this, when you program in new ways of being, new ways of doing things, new ways of showing up in your business, your stress levels suddenly start to become lower. They reduce. Because your subconscious mind, that inner child, is no longer reminding you of how much you're going to disappoint others. It's no longer focused on the pressure. It's no longer adding extra stress through guilt, shame, fear, worry, or anger into the pressure that you're feeling. Suddenly, the dialogue that you hear, your inner dialogue, starts changing. And it starts shifting into, you've got this. Trust yourself. You can do this. Believe in yourself. Take that chance. All of a sudden, the dialogue that you have inside is different. It's more empowering. It believes in you. It's more aligned with what you want to be, with what you want to bring into life. That's what alignment is. It's like connecting from within. It's trusting yourself, trusting your wisdom, trusting your decisions, having the courage to make decisions that feel good for you, but not because you're seeing it on the outside. It's everything that you're doing all of a sudden becomes driven from the inside out instead of from the outside in. And just think about it and imagine how different your business would be if you had that type of inner dialogue in your head. Think about how different your business would be if, instead of thinking, you're so unprepared for this, who's going to buy from you? Nobody's going to take you seriously. If instead of that, you heard, you've got this. Say yes, take that chance. Let's do this. How different would it feel? What type of choices, what type of actions would you take if you had that voice pushing you forward? How different would it be, or what types of decisions would you make if you were responding instead of reacting to all these threats? If you're responding to opportunities, what would you say yes to? Maybe you would say yes to different clients. Maybe you would say yes to all those opportunities that you're saying no now to because you feel like you're crazy, that you don't deserve them. Maybe you would show up in a different way. I am in this process and I'm learning to show off the funny side of me. Because for a really long time, I was conditioned to believe that if I was to be taken seriously, I needed to be serious. That I couldn't just show myself as I was. I couldn't show myself as funny because funny is not, they won't take you serious. But now that I'm deconditioning all these stories from all my past relationships, I'm showing up to my business in a very different way, in a way that feels true to me. And that is starting to give me a lot of peace. So imagine the peace that you would feel where you're no longer living with all this pressure to perform, to execute, to reach and accomplish certain things. Imagine how free you would feel if you would just eliminate all of that. And imagine all the other things that you could achieve with this tiny shift. That is this shift in your awareness, these shifts in your subconscious mind. And those are the types of shifts that we need to start looking for. And those are the types of shifts that we need and that I refer to when I say that in business is not just about doing, it's about being. Because when you are being in business, when you are being and you're doing business from your highest and most aligned self, the dialogue that you have inside you is like the dialogue that I mentioned before, that pushes you forward, that empowers you, that connects you to your self-worth, that knows that you are lovable, that you don't have to prove anything, that you trust your intuition. Versus the dialogue that pulls you down, that reminds you that you are not worthy, that you are not ready, that you are inadequate. That's not doing business from an aligned way. So when you be in business, you connect to that highest sense of being. That is already, you have it in you. Just like I have funny in me. It's very deep in layers. But I do have funny in me. And you do have this sense of empowerment and courage and self-love and acceptance within you. We all do. But sometimes it's been buried deep by layers and layers and layers of conditioning based on past relationships. And it's not just romantic relationships. It's also relationships that you had in the past with your boss, with previous people that you worked with previous clients, maybe with your parents. It comes from your relationships, not just the romantic relationships. I feel that they are triggered by your romantic relationships, but the layers come from other things as well. So those are the types of shifts that we need to focus, because if we just keep on doing business without addressing this, without deconditioning our subconscious mind, without addressing this toxic inner dialogue that keeps us stuck in the pressure, then we're definitely not going to connect with our purpose or impact. We're just going to be stuck in survival mode. And I don't think you want to do that. And I feel that being stuck in survival mode is doing a disservice to the community, because we don't get to see your true gift. We don't get to benefit from your unique gifts that you're here to share with the world. Because again, that keeps you in hiding mode. You're not thriving, you're hiding. And these are the types of things that I want to start addressing in the Resiliency to Prosperity program. These are the types of shifts that we're going to start embedding in your subconscious mind in those 20 weeks that we're going to have together. And side note promotion here, we have 10 more days before the next cohort starts. And I know that the transformations and the mindset shifts that are going to happen are going to be amazing. But I also know that this is exactly the work, the type of work, the depth of work that many, many people need. And that's why I'm putting it out there. I've changed the payment plans. I was offering a payment plan for 5 months. Now I'm expanding it to 12 months because I want to reach as many people as possible. So if anything that I shared with you today resonated, if you are experiencing that pressure today with your relationships, if you are experiencing those pain points of needing to prove yourself, of that fear of what if I let my family down? What if I don't succeed? What if I don't meet those expectations? Then this is a program for you. If you feel and if you are aware of the toxicity of your inner dialogue, there's no shame to admit it. Everybody, we all have toxic dialogues. If you're aware of that and you want to shift it, then this is a program for you. If you want to start doing business from a place of peace, from a place of freedom, from a place of ease, then we need to start shifting that subconscious mind, your subconscious mind. We need to start shifting that subconscious dialogue. And this is the best place to do it. So DM me over on Instagram. You know you can find me over at andrea.transformationcatalyst. You can visit the link of my bios for the details. But I want you to know that moving forward, I want to talk about this more explicitly, because whether you join the program or not, you need to become aware. I really, really encourage you to start becoming more aware of the inner dialogue that you're having, and becoming more aware of how that inner dialogue is adding pressure into your business, and becoming more aware of the origin of that dialogue and the origin and how it's related to the past relationships and the past pains that you experienced as a result of those relationships that today you may be subconsciously trying to avoid. Okay? All right, everyone. I love you all. I hope you have an amazing, amazing week. Please connect with me. Send me a message. I always love to hear your comments, what resonated, what didn't. I mean, you don't always have to agree with me. I love it if you do, but I also love when people just tell me express their point of view. That's really, really valuable as well. So have an amazing week. Enjoy the rest of September. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, enjoy the fall. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, let's bring on spring. And I will be catching you next week. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.